And welcome to another show. This topic fascinates me. New evidence of unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAPs. In fact, it's the first scientifically authenticated documentation of images released. Now, Dr. J.C. van Velkinburgh, PhD, former Los Alamos National Lab biophysicist, and Debra LaPrevotte, former FBI special agent and forensic scientist. I'd like to welcome you both.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Well, last month, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the ODNI, released a preliminary report on possible threats posed by UFOs, now known as unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. And the progress of the Department of Defense Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, UAPTF, has made in understanding these threats. So what's it all mean? This report, it says everything. Ladies, what did it provide?
Well, I think what this report provided really it moved us from saying, do these things exist? That has been the big question for a long time. And really with this report, they've said this exists. This unidentified aerial phenomenon exists. So that's no longer the question. The question has become, what are they?
All right, so, that's more important. It's all very well for conjecture, but you're actually providing insight into the transparency of the process, right? And you help solidify the transition of UAP study from entertainment, the entertainment world, to the scientific, proof, real. Is that about it?
Yes, that's exactly. When UAP when Genesis 2 Project G2P was established, it was established because what we've seen so far so throughout modern history, people have seen UAP. They have experienced this. They've had observations. However, they've always passed that along by word of mouth. And at that point, when you pass along information by word of mouth, you're focusing on the person. You're focusing on the story that they're telling. You're not getting data that you can then assess. And now, with all of the documentation capabilities that we have, even the layperson, almost every one of us is walking around with a cell phone that has camera and video capabilities. We are taking images every single day, and people are inadvertently capturing UAP. They don't know what these are. And so the thing is that we've reached a critical threshold at this point with so much capture that it has to be addressed. And now that we have such a mass of data, and I need to back up and explain that with Genesis 2 Project, we are now, we have surpassed 4 years of data collection. And these are just documentation of UAP. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, now that we have actual data, we needed to assess it from a scientific standpoint. Not just from a standpoint of, oh, this is so interesting, or look, let's get some viewers and sensationalize it. Mm-hmm. This is a serious scientific study, a subject of serious scientific study. And so with that, we needed to design a very specific way to do that. And so when I was brought on, we started developing the methodology that we were going to use to establish that. And we've been very, very careful in how we do it. This is also why we have such strict NDAs that have been signed by everyone that is involved with Genesis 2 Project, because we do not want to focus on the big names that we are working with. Mm-hmm. That's not the focus of this. The focus is the data and the findings. And so our first step that we're doing is we're doing forensic analysis of any documented image or video recording. And we chose to use Primeau Forensics for that because they are one of the nation's leaders in this kind of work. And so what they do is they go through, as soon as we get a captured image, they go through the image itself, but they also have to have the device. There has to be a chain of custody. They have to go through the device and make sure what the settings were, how it was captured, when it was captured, the GPS data, that it actually came off of that device. On top of that, then they're looking at the actual image itself. They're making sure they're following a very standardized set of rules and regulations that our court systems rely on in order for evidence to be submitted in a court case. And at that point, they're looking to see, was the image manipulated? Even by a light enhancement, that's manipulation. We need raw data. And then they're also, the second part they're looking at is is the object of interest in the field of vision that you're looking at with this documented image, is that just an artifact of the technology? So we rule that out as well. And then we know we have an authenticated, valid piece of data with integrity that we can then start to study what is this thing that it's showing.
So the whole G2P's mission is to pursue empirical investigations of forensically validated UAP recordings and open up a legitimate questioning into the implications of, such technologies. I mean, you can't turn on a show these days without somehow or other the latest interview or the latest release or this and that. And my feeling is it's getting closer and closer to release. So the mission, it's a big mission. I mean, the two of you, look at your backgrounds. We're talking about a former Los Alamos National Lab biophysicist and, an FBI special agent who, from what I read, was, involved in international corruption. So if anybody sort of can figure out, hang on a minute, this is not real, it's you. So in the mission of this Genesis 2 project, you got to remove the perception of UAPs from the realm of fanciful. Do all the G2P's principals and associates, they've carried top secret clearances in their work in the past, and that's NASA, the FBI, DHS, and what's the other one? LANL. Have they all signed strict non-disclosure agreements, and how does that support your mission?
I'll touch on this because, as JC said, our point is to make sure that anything put out by the Genesis 2 project is not about personalities, but just about the facts and the evidence that's being collected. So we formulated a team that has a diverse scientific background, and the non-disclosure agreements just give us a strict protocol by which the evidence was collected, maintained, and shared, but also to make sure that everything put out by G2P isn't a pseudoscience, isn't about a personality, isn't about some of the wild things that you'll see there in social media or on television, but that we focus on what we put out is solid science. And that when you're looking at photographs or images or any of the future data put out by G2P, you know that it all is backed up with strong empirical science.
Well, let's talk about G2P collaborating with a senior editor at the Washington Post to further its dissemination of the underlying news story, UAP persistence, and endorse the need for serious scientific investigation. What other platforms are you considering, other than what we're doing now, to, getting this information to the public?
Well, one thing, when we first started looking at our mass of data, and really the thing to remember here is that this has been an over 4-year data collection effort. So we have a large amount of data, thousands of documented UAP. And we considered all the popular media platforms at the beginning, such as 24-hour streaming of hotspots or daily podcasts. But we really felt that in keeping with our mission of bona fide scientific study and having a serious perception of UAP as a scientific study, that we turned away from that. In addition, we quickly recognized the very serious nature of the national security implications. And that was when we were considering the UAP that were being documented are in U.S. airspace. And we have documentation of them interacting with our aircraft. And that really focused our approach on keeping this scientific and respecting all the people and all the agencies that have ties to that, and that we really needed to avoid anything with entertainment. So this reminds me, we have this one particularly compelling piece of evidence where we have a UAP that is actually it's transversing through a jet stream. It disrupts the jet stream as it passes through. And so that is something interacting with our aircraft. So one thing that we've thought of recently that would be interesting would be to have a documentary team follow the actual entire process that G2P is doing from the capture, because we are capturing images on a daily basis. So to have them follow from the actual capture of the image to the digital forensic analysis, go with the devices, go with the data to Primeau Forensics follow them through their analysis, see how they do that, then back to the G2P physicists themselves and how they're assessing the data and finding the information, pulling information out of it that can benefit everyone.
Sounds fantastic. And by gee, there's going to be very interesting stuff come out of it. We've run out of time. I'm very grateful to you both. Fascinating topic. Wish you well with the project. Dr. J.C. Van Velkinburgh, PhD, and Debra LaPrevotte, former FBI special agent. You heard it here on The Mark Bishop Show. Fascinating topic, don't you think?